Okay, so um, building trust through better evaluation design. Today, just going to start by a quick introduction of what authentic evaluation is, what we do, why we do it. I'm Audacity Nadler. I'm the director of authentic evaluation. And what we do is we provide evaluations. We design evaluations intentionally from perspectives that honor the experiences, culture, and voices of the communities being served. That means that while I'm a total data nerd and I love numbers and traditional sort of statistics, we also do a lot of artistic-based evaluation. We support a lot of Indigenous evaluation efforts and really work to tailor our projects to a diverse array of clients. And the reason that we do this is the reason I started authentic evaluation in the first place is because of who I am and because my identity means that I'm not sort of typical in many ways. Many typical approaches don't work for me and for my community. So I realized, they don't work for a lot of other communities as well. And so we are working to design approaches that really are a good fit for everybody. Because evaluation is important and valuable, and we want it to be accessible for everybody. So that's me. I'm going to have my team introduce themselves really quickly as well. Joella, you can go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joella Orderino, and I am the Director of Strategic Communications for Authentic Evaluation. As you can imagine, as we serve our audience, it's very important to speak their language, hence my job. Nice to see you all. Thank you for joining.
Okay, I'm Jeanette Al Romero, and welcome everybody. I support authentic evaluation with operations and event coordination, and I'll be mostly behind the scenes, and I'm excited to be here and working with Audie.
Awesome. Thanks, team. Okay, so when we talk about program evaluation, what I'm talking about is clearly knowing what you're trying to accomplish and thoughtfully using data to see if you're accomplishing it. And so, something I joke about often is that if you ask 10 different evaluators what evaluation is, you'll get 20 different answers, and that's fantastic. That means that there's an evaluator for everyone, a type of evaluation for everyone. The perspective that we bring is this idea of really getting an understanding of what is the goal of the work that's being done first, and then using data to see if that goal is being accomplished. And when we're talking about data, we're talking about all kinds of different things. We might be talking about standard like numbers. We might be talking about sort of epidemiology style tracking of populations. We might be talking about return on investment analyses, or we might be talking about stories, pictures, music that's been created. There's a whole world of ways to measure what's happening around us. And we, again, try to choose ways of understanding them that match with the program that we're working with. Okay, but today, this is really focused on how we support state agencies and some tips and tricks that can be helpful to you all who are working in state agencies and in public programs in trying to navigate particular challenges. And this is something that is really dear to my heart because I spent a bunch of time working with the state in the Department of Health, working on public health initiatives. And so I know these struggles. And so we've come to call it the sandwich challenge. This idea that often public agencies function as a little bit of a pass-through entity. And so you have the funding that's coming in either from the legislature, appropriations, from federal grants. You have this funding that is coming in to you, and those are associated with requirements, and usually requirements with reporting and measuring progress and tracking metrics. And then you have your agency in the middle that has a certain amount of capacity, and that is usually stretched very thin. And then you have community partners who are supported by the same funds and working to be a part of your mission and to carry out the mission on the behalf of your agency. And so this ends up with this situation that is really challenging for people who are working in the state. And the next slide, I think, should come with a trigger warning. This is an actual performance measurement plan that I developed for a CDC funded grant that was provided to the state for overdose prevention. And then the state went on to fund dozens of community partners to carry out this mission. And so, you know, you have to produce things like this and report on them. You have these funder requirements and you have this agency capacity. I love this picture because it looks like it was actually taken from inside the Runnels building. I'm pretty sure this is actually New Mexico State Agency. And so we have this this lack of capacity and, you know, always being stretched thin. And then you have, on the other hand, community partner capacity. These are usually nonprofits that are really focused on doing the work on the ground. They are there to do that individual reaching out to people who need the support that they're providing for whatever the program is, for either like providing public health resources or doing work with children or overdose prevention, sexual violence prevention, gun violence monitoring, any of these things. They're there on the ground working on these problems. And usually their focus and their skill set is not in this area of tracking and reporting data. And it feels very overwhelming to them. And it's often hard for these community partners to understand why they are being asked to track and report the information that they are. So then leads to this sandwich situation where the agency capacity is being strained on both sides by expectations from the funders and needs and capacity of community partners. And it's really challenging. There's limited time for the kind of deep communication that builds trust. People don't always have the skills or tools that they need to ask about what's happening and understand why they're being asked to do the evaluation that they're being asked to do. And sometimes this leads to assumptions about negative intent or lack of care on the part of you, the funder, the state agency. Even though, you know, we know we're all in this because of our desire to support the people who we work with and to make our state a better place. So I'm here with a framework for a solution to this challenge. It is the Trust Building Crosswalk tool. Jeanette shared it in the chat already. You can go to the link and open it up and use it as you wish in the future. It's simple, not always easy, but it consists of 3 steps. First and foremost, and this is reflected a lot across a lot of thoughtful evaluation approaches, is that first you have to understand the needs. And often when we're in the situation of crunch time, deadlines, grant applications, legislative session, all of these things happening, it gets a little bit shortcutted, and instead of truly building understanding of the needs of all of the different entities involved, we often tend to just focus on the needs of the funder because we need the funding and that's the priority. So we really want to start by building a deep understanding of the needs. Then second, finding alignment between those needs and really thoughtfully planning what is going to be the responsibility of each entity so that the thing that they're going to be asked to do is actually going to provide a benefit to them, a clear benefit that they can understand. And we'll go into more detail on all of these in the subsequent slides. And then finally, critical final step is to communicate these decisions and communicate this information. So often, again, not because of any ill intent or any fault of anyone, it's like really sharing why the information is important and how it will benefit everybody involved is a step that kind of gets missed because of all these capacity limitations and time crunches. Okay, so when we're diving into step one and we're thinking about building understanding of needs, you're right. It's people often don't know what they're even looking for, what it is that they need. And so first easy step, obtain the funder reporting requirements. And one of the ways to like look a little deeper during this step is to just think about how much flexibility is there, because sometimes these reporting requirements are like, use this measure in this situation this often. And sometimes they are like, I don't know, track utilization of services. And so you've got a lot more breathing room in those kinds of things. So that's the first need that you look into. Then of course, like agency needs and resources. How much time do we have to spend on this? What's our capacity? How much knowledge do we have about the problem and different ways of measuring the problem? And how many people can we put towards watching this, tracking this, and reporting on it? And then finally, building understanding of partner data needs and capacity. And we'll go into this one a little bit more in depth because of exactly what you were saying, a situation where so many times people don't understand what their needs are. And so these are some questions that I've found really help actually pull out the needs and capacity that people have and what they can commit to this. Really concrete, like what FTE can your organization dedicate to gathering data and reporting on it? What my favorite one is, what decisions are your organization facing right now? And just really talk about that. What are you having to decide? Are you having to decide which classes to stop having, which new like curriculum to bring in, how many people to promote to tenure, those kinds of things. What are those decisions that you're needing to make? And then fill in the blanks. If I knew blank, I would be able to blank. If I knew what really brings students to our university, I would be able to put more resources towards that department or towards those activities. If we're talking public health, if I knew what people are actually using naloxone for, what situations they're using it in, I would know better how to get it to the people who need it most. So that's a question that I found just like so helpful in helping people drill down to what their actual needs are. And then just check in about data literacy level. Are we talking like, yeah, I can deploy a survey, I can do some basic descriptives, I can count things, or are we talking like I look at numbers and I'm terrified? Or are we talking like, yes, we have an internal evaluator on staff who's taking care of these things. So it's important to really understand that too. because the goal is to find alignment and distribute these tasks fairly and or in a way that works for everybody. And I have a whole decision tree that, due to this being a half hour and respectful of everybody's time, we're not going to deep dive into. But if you ever want to, hit me up and I will nerd out about it with you. Uh, but the purpose is really to figure out, to respect everybody's capacity, what can you pass on to the partner and have them take responsibility for and have them take charge of collecting. And you make sure that those are things, as often as possible, that they are able to directly see the benefits of, because then they're going to be more motivated to collect this data. You're going to see better reporting, more higher levels of fulfillment of deliverables, all of these things, because it's directly tied to a benefit to their organization. And then you think about what the agency can take responsibility for, and you take sort of like you're the funding agency. It's your responsibility to take on the burden that can't be ethically passed through to the partners. But then you can also push back. And working in this field, I've seen federal reporting requirements get changed because of effective pushback strategies. And so this is a part of that too. If you're looking and you're like, I see where this benefits our partner. I see where our partners can take responsibility for this. I see where our responsibility is and what we can do. Everything else beyond that is way out of our capacity and it's not serving anybody. You can take that back to the people who are setting the requirements and say, hey, listen, this doesn't serve. Let's get this fixed in the future. And it doesn't always happen. It doesn't always happen quickly, but it does happen. And it's really exciting to be able to make that positive change. And then communicate the decisions. So here I have the trust building crosswalk tool, and just a brief example. If you were doing this for a major program, you'd go into much more detail. But once it's filled out, you have it like this. So you're like, okay, the funders require us to, say, track naloxone distribution, or for an early childhood intervention grant, track healthy parenting behaviors. For a city equitable access fund, report bike accidents. And so for each of these different programs, here's an example. Okay, so the agency can take responsibility for counting the number of doses of naloxone distributed to each partner location. That's something can be a heavy lift. And so that's something that they can do. The partner can take responsibility for using a dot tracker during distribution, so that they can ask about the reasons naloxone is needed. So this is a really simple evaluation tool, right? You have a big matrix up, you say, why do you need another dose? Is it because you used the last one, lost the last one, or never had one in the first place? Or your last one expired. And when people get their package, they just grab a little dot and put it up on your paper. And then the partner has that concrete information that they need to figure out what their service population is needing, how this is being used, where to scale outreach up or down to be more efficient. So this is just an example of a way that you can sort of pass these reporting requirements through in a way that's really actionable by the partner, in a way that's easy to collect the information, and in a way that the benefit is clearly seen. So that is just a quick overview of sort of how that works. And when I've used this structure for building evaluation requirements or deliverables reporting requirements or anything that is trying to demonstrate impact, it's resulted in so many positive outcomes. The funder requirements are clearly understood, and we always talk about relationship building and trust building and how important that is. So that contributes to that. Actionable benchmarks are identified and used because they're actionable and useful. Nobody's wasting time on collecting data that's just going to go into a file on the computer and never get looked at again. So those resources are prioritized. Like I mentioned before, partner participation is increased because they can see the benefit of the data, and the evaluation plans that are created are clear and impactful. And that really just builds a culture of trust between partners. And it's a slow process. It's an ongoing process. These are foundational building blocks to creating that. So like I said, half-hour presentation. This is just a quick touch. I would love to talk to anybody who's interested more about this. I love talking about it and brainstorming and hearing challenges that people think are unsolvable and trying to figure them out together. So I would just, again, love to hear from you really briefly. What do you think would be sort of the most exciting to try? What would work the best? And then what do you think of these things we talked about today would be the hardest to implement? I'm going to wrap up so you all can enjoy the second half of your lunch. Hopefully you're getting a lunch. But I did want to share that one of the things that we're passionate about at Authentic Evaluation is this ongoing community support. One of my passions is to change the culture of data and tracking in New Mexico. Just a tiny goal there. And as a part of this, I'm offering ongoing free training. The thing I'm super duper excited about is our event in March. It's in person here in Santa Fe, and we are having, it's called Evaluation Reimagined. It's like short TED style presentations, little mini conference where people can come and learn about innovative techniques to plan evaluation, ways to conduct evaluation, interesting ways to report it. We're going to be talking Indigenous methods. We're going to be talking arts-based methods. We're going to be talking equity-based methods. So yeah, here, Santa Fe, March 13th. Please come. Please invite everybody you know. It's going to be super amazing and fun. And in the meantime, if you want to reach out and chat about anything or brainstorm or nerd out about numbers, I'm here. I'd love to chat with you. And thanks so much for coming today. It was good to see your faces on here, and I hope you have a wonderful day.